fuel pressure driver module itself? Or is it something completely different? Something funky's going on with fuel pressure. Well, you saw it here first. Just tried to do a direct back-to-back comparison test we did before we went to the dyno last time when we found out that the car was burning oil. Unfortunately, the road that I went to a few minutes ago had dust, like construction dirt and dust, literally as soon as I hit second gear. So I wanted to make sure we had a very clean road, found a different one, and I just reviewed the footage. I don't see any smoke at all. Not revving, not under load, nothing. So I'm cautiously optimistic that we are ready for the dyno, almost. Since I ended the last video, I've been driving the car around, errands around town, going to work, going to the gym, all that good stuff. So I've got about 60, 65 miles on the car right now. I'm ready to do my first oil change. So let's run to the store, go get some oil, get the car back to the garage, and just go give it a good once over before we hit the dyno tomorrow. Let's get to work. Man, what a beautiful night. And photo op, probably. Yeah, we're gonna do that. Oh boy, some weather coming. Got a bridge, tunnel, everybody knows the rules. Well, we beat the storm, not looking like it. Absolutely bone dry under here, boys. Everywhere you look, not a single leak, which is great because when I first bought this car, it leaked from everywhere. So, love to see that. Man, this thing is butter. If you guys are looking for a new shop stool, I was using this one, the Big Red, and this thing has seen some stuff. The tray is all broken. I actually upgraded the casters on these because this came with these tiny little red things, and the smallest little pebble would trip it up, and it's been good over the years, but The folks at Vivor reached out and said, hey, do you want to try some of our new shop stools? And I was like, yep. Look at this one. They've got a couple different ones available. This one is my favorite. It's got a super comfy seat. It's got trays, cup holders, big wheels, and most importantly, the rubber casters, which are going to easily go over little stuff in your garage and not scratch your floors if you got nice ones, you know, nice epoxy floors. This thing is super comfortable, rolls like absolute butter. They also make one with kind of a circular tray on the bottom. Again, high quality casters, great tools, Vivor, always hooking it up. Link will be in the description for this one as well as the other shop stool. You guys should definitely check it out. Nothing better than rolling around your car with ease. That being said, I think the Cobra is ready for dyno day. Got 6 quarts of fresh oil, a Motorcraft filter, gave the engine bay a quick wipe down, visually looked over the whole underside of the car, didn't see any leaks, nothing, not even one drip anywhere. Bone dry down there, absolutely love to see that. The car's running awesome, it sounds incredible. I think we're ready. Let me show you the oil real quick. So here's the oil. Look at that, it's kind of interesting. Looks like the bottom of a desert. But I got a bunch of comments the last time when I drained the oil out of this motor, which had 600 miles on it and perfect oil pressure and everything else. This is totally normal for a brand new motor. It's hard to see right now, but it's just, you know, like a fine particle mist, basically. And the oil only has 50 miles on it, and that's because, once again, with a new motor, you have all these parts wearing together, bearings and rings to cylinder walls and everything, new oil pump gears, everything is kind of wearing and meshing together, and you are gonna get like a fine dust in that first oil change, sometimes the first 2 or 3 oil changes. It really depends, but I would consider this to be totally normal. I had guys in my other video last time we did this that said, oh my goodness, I've never seen oil that bad. It's like, yeah, okay guy, like, even though it's got some sort of weird oil consumption issue, it never had any oil pressure issues, and the oil looked way worse than this. I would consider this totally normal for a motor that is brand new. And that is why you want to change it frequently when you got a new motor. This has got, like I said, just about 65 miles on it. Some guys even do it in the first heat cycle and then 50, and then after the dyno. I like to do it at around 50 and then, you know, go to the dyno, put maybe 500 miles on it, and then switch over to your synthetic oil of your choice, basically. But right now we're running conventional. Make sure we get this motor properly broken in, but we just want to make sure it's clean. And there's going to be a lot of debris in that first oil change, so make sure you get it done at a reasonable time frame. But it's late now, and it was raining outside. Also, give this thing literally just a quick rinse. I've not washed this car since March, and I just didn't want it to look absolutely terrible on the dyno. It's gonna look not great, but at least there's not like visible dirt on the rear bumper anymore, so that's good. But I think we're ready for the dyno, as ready as I'm gonna be anyways. So tomorrow morning, I think I'm gonna load this thing up on the trailer, just in case. I could drive it, but technically my temporary plate is expired. Whoops. So I think I'm just gonna trailer it and you know, make sure that we're good to go down there tomorrow. So I'll load it up tomorrow. I will catch you guys at the dyno. Fingers crossed this thing makes a couple great pulls, puts down good power, and has no issues. Come on. Alright guys, so at this point the car is going on the dyno. I was trying to be as present as possible to help things go as smooth as possible. Didn't really want to narrate the whole thing. So at this point, let's just get through the raw dyno video clips, and then we'll kind of regroup after. And I'll explain what's going on and what's happening. Well guys, it is about 9 o'clock at night. I'm headed back from the dyno. After 4 hours, I got good news and just a little bit of bad news. It's not ideal, but it's not the end of the world. But it's late now, it's dark. We'll get into it tomorrow. So catch you guys then. I'm gonna keep driving home. Oh my gosh, I just want to be home. Why is there always road construction? We are back from the dyno. It is actually a couple days later. Got home late at night, unloaded the car the next day, and now we are back. So what happened on the dyno? So finally got down to turbo mic after sitting in traffic for a while. Got the car on the dyno, just drove it right up on there since we already did the bass tune a few months ago, and strapped it down and started getting the car nice and hot. And Mike did the same thing that he did with the first motor, where we kind of load up the dyno and kind of whack the throttle and really vary the RPMs to see if we could not only get some heat in the motor, but help to make sure that those rings are fully seated, which they did. Car was night and day compared to the first motor as far as, you know, smoke. I think I came by at one point after we did like a couple of those throttle whacks, and Mike was like, well, I can still see you, so this motor is better than the other one. Of course, he's alluding to the fact that the other motor was smoking so much that it was filling the room with smoke. So that's good. Car started getting a little hot, up to like 213 degrees, so we shut it down, checked everything. And coolant was full here, but I said, all right, let's check the crossover. So of course I pulled this off, and there was a big air pocket in here. So I filled it from here, got rid of the air pocket. Then for the rest of the dyno session, the car didn't exceed like 198 or 200 degrees. Absolutely perfect there. So we kept going with, braking, increasing throttle, making sure everything was good. Then when we tried to go wide open throttle, the car would just kind of fall on its face and go full rich. You could see the black smoke coming out the tailpipes. Tried a few different things, made sure we're getting a good MAF reading. Mike noticed the fuel pressure was like dipping and then spiking to like 70 PSI. And I believe on these cars, it should be like just under 40 PSI throughout the whole time. So something was going weird with the fuel pressure. So I was thinking, all right, well, it does have a Kenny Bell booster pump on it, because many previous owners ago, and the original motor, this car did have a Whipple on it, I believe. So a booster pump is not really required for this setup. So I said, all right, let's try and just completely remove that booster pump. So I spent like 20 minutes pulling that out, using some really cheap butt connectors to try and get that thing out. Put it back, fired it up again, tried to make a pull, exact same thing. And the car would just fall on its face, recover, fall on its face, recover, to the point that it was shooting black smoke out the tailpipes, which is basically unburnt fuel. Good news is, the greatest fireball I've ever seen out the back of a car, this one right here. And that was actually a pull that Mike rolled into the throttle to get wide open, 6,500 RPMs and like 10 pounds of boost. So, not exactly a full pull, but 3/4 of the way there, and the car ran pretty well, but again, at the top started dumping in fuel, which is why you can see in that video the unburnt fuel exiting the tailpipe actually ignite. There's like a grayish brownish mist, and then it's boom, fireball. Pretty cool. But at that point, we were both kind of at a loss. Not really sure what's going on with the fuel pressure. So at that point I said, all right, well, it's getting pretty late. I've been there for like 4 hours. Clearly something is wrong that I'm almost positive is not related to the tune. Let me take it home and we'll sort it out, which sucks, because I really was hoping to get this kind of dialed in this dyno appointment. With traffic, he's about 2 hours away. So being as that I've now been down there twice, it's not ideal, but looking at the positives, we've got a healthy motor here. After doing all those pulls and everything else, the car is not smoking at all. Coolant temp was perfect. Throughout all this beating on the dyno, the oil pressure stayed absolutely perfect. The oil is still clean, even after all that, and the level is right where it should be. All vitals are perfect. The car sounds incredible. Motor is good. I'll take that as a win. Hopefully this is something relatively simple that we can sort out. And where I'm gonna start is right here. And you Cobras already know what I'm talking about. This is the fuel rail pressure sensor, or FRPS, and this thing can be pretty darn finicky. As the name implies, this sensor detects fuel pressure, reports that to the ECU, which kind of controls, fuel pump duty cycle and injector pulse width, and I believe a couple other things embedded within the tune. So it's critical that it works properly. Typically they fail in a mechanical fashion on these cars, where the seal between where the fuel is and the electronics breaks, and then you'll get fuel into this vacuum line right here, and basically will cause the car to run rich, or if it won't even run at all. It's so common that these things go bad that when I drove my torch red 04 Cobra down to Mustang Week in Myrtle Beach back in 2015, it was like 8 of us convoying down there from the New England area. I kept one in my glove box, a brand new Ford one in my glove box, because I did not want to get stranded on the way down there. And my buddy Kyle didn't bring one, and on the way back, we were in Virginia, and he got on the walkie-talkies that we had and said, hey, my car's running like crap and just died on the side of the road in the middle of traffic, in the middle of summer in Virginia. He was all stressed out. I said, hold on, I got what you need in the glove box. We swapped it right up there on the side of the highway. Car fired up, ran perfect, and made it the rest of the 600 miles home. So yeah, that's about how common these things are and how commonly they fail. So that's kind of where I was like, this would be easy to swap out. It's right here on top of the motor. Maybe we have fuel pressure issues because of that. So that's an example of something that I would probably want to buy an OEM Ford part. So of course I went on Amazon and bought one from China for 20 bucks, but it was here in one day. And the reason I did that is I'm not super confident that this is what the problem is. But if it does fix it, great. You know, then we'll order OEM Ford one and have that one in the glove box. If it doesn't and the car doesn't act any different, does the exact same thing, then we know to look elsewhere, and we're only out 20 bucks. So let's get horsepower tuners fired up, get in this thing, log a couple things, see if we can figure out what's going on and get some sort of direction. Here's the booster pump back here, along with my 100-degree dyno, late at night, quick and dirty wiring. So we'll pull that out probably as well and clean up that wiring. It's good enough for on the dyno. See if that was our issue. It appears it's not. So the investigation continues. All right, got horsepower tuners hooked up here. Got my PIDs that I'd like to log right here. So let's hop in the car. First though, shout out to a user that sent me these stickers, these guys at West Coast Cobras, their group out there on the other side of the country. Look at this, we got, looks like Sonic Blue, Competition Orange, and probably Torch Red. So this is my guy right here for this car, but yeah, shout out to the viewer that sent me these. These will definitely make their way onto the toolbox. All right, we're connected. There's TPS right there. Featuring the Crocs. Let's fire this thing up. So fuel pressure is good at idle. 38, 39, right where it should be. Apparently these yeah, see, there it goes. These ECUs have about the computing power of a TI-83 Plus, so if you try to log like 10 PIDs, just freezes stuff up. You get the dashes on the odometer. Mike was telling me about that. Maybe I'll delete a couple of these PIDs so this thing doesn't freak out as much. And we'll let this thing warm up and see what it does. Straight up not having a good time though.
Bro, I'm straight up not having a good time.
Oh man, oh, we're back, and we're frozen again. And we're back again. And we're frozen. All right, I have reduced the PIDs to only the critical ones, at least for me right now anyways, and it's still freezing. But anyways, let's take it out on the road, stab it, and see if we can figure out what fuel pressure's doing. All right, let's see what happens here. No gauges. Hey, and we're back. Ah, this computer sucks. And dead again, and we're back. Yep, right there. At least she sounds good. So that's it, guys. That's the issue. It just, you know, falls on its face and then comes back and, you know, way rich. We'll look at the log, but I bet you it's going to show some sort of fuel pressure spike or something. Let's get back, look at the logs, and figure this out. Sounds good when you roll into it, though. Man, did she sound mean on the dyno, too. Woo! All right, we are back. Spent a few minutes in the trunk there cleaning up the wiring for the fuel pressure driver module over there. Again, just because I was rushing on the dyno, want to make sure all the connections are solid and that's cleaned up and ready to go for later. And now maybe we can sell that Kenny Bell booster pump, recoup some of the thousands of dollars over budget we are in this car. Anyways, if we take a look at this log, we can see this line right here, this green is throttle position sensor, TPS. So you can see me getting into the throttle here. And we can see fuel pressure has dropped to 32 PSI. Should be like it is over here, about 40, 38 to 40. Does a drop to like 31. And then I let out of the throttle, car falls on its face. And then fuel pressure kind of recovers and then spikes to like 75 all within like a second, and then does like a step function. Fuel pressure is right here, by the way, and listed over here. Then it goes down all the way down to like 19 or 16 PSI, and then it recovers. This damn cricket is still in here, and my camera lens is dirty. Hold on. So, it's hard to say. I mean, there's a lot of variables here with these cars especially. It's not like a return fuel system like in the Camaro, for example, where it's gonna always see 40 PSI regardless, and any excess, the fuel pumps run 100% all the time, and then any excess fuel goes returned to the tank. In a fuel system like this, you just have a feed, and that's it. And the fuel pump driver module basically feeds voltage to the pumps based on, you know, demand listed from the O2 sensors and you know, all the other inputs that the engine is seeing. So there can be a lag, you know, there where, you know, if the fuel pump can't keep up, then it's gonna, you know, command voltage, and then it's gonna overpump, things like that. It's just harder to tune these things in. There's also what a lot of guys call the PPRV delete, which is basically a valve that prevents, I think it's fuel drain back or fuel pressure loss when the car is shut off. And if that's not done properly, you could have hoses pop off and lose fuel pressure there. There's a whole bunch of things that could be an issue here. It could be something else, I'm not sure. But before we do anything drastic, like pull the tank and see what we got, I don't even know what's in there for fuel pumps. If there's a Whipple on it, I gotta assume there's some sort of aftermarket pumps in there. But I don't know what's in there. I did do a fuel filter early on when I bought this car, so we know that that's good. That's not an issue. We know the injectors are good. The injectors are clean, so it's got to be something else. Right now, I've got a $20 fuel rail pressure sensor, and it's right there on top of the motor. So I'm gonna cheat, take the easy way out, pop one of these in, since they are kind of common and to go bad in these cars. And if that doesn't work, then we can kind of investigate further. Is it an issue with the fuel pump? Is it the fuel pump driver module itself that is, you know, acting kind of wonky? Another thing I didn't log because the computer was freaking out is battery voltage. Do we have good battery voltage at wide open throttle? I mean, there's a lot of investigating to do, but for right now, let's take the easy way out and pop this fuel rail pressure sensor in. Well, big surprise, the $20 Amazon fuel rail pressure sensor did not fix our issue. Damn it. Also, I think I showed some of this in the B-roll footage, but kind of off camera, I swapped a few things. I'd never recommend, throwing the parts cannon at a car when you're diagnosing an issue, but when you've got a Lightning and a complete spare motor, and you got extra parts, it's kind of easy to swap stuff just to rule stuff out. So off camera, I swapped in the Lightning mass airflow sensor, which is the exact same part number, no change. Swapped the coils from that motor, which were actually OEM Ford coils, as opposed to the ones that were in here, which are some other brand. No change. Did the Amazon fuel rail pressure sensor, no change at all. And I just put fuel filter down here because I did that when I swapped the motor, so it's got like 600 miles on it, brand new Motorcraft part. Also, I don't think I mentioned this yet. This stuttering or hesitation issue was an issue with the last motor too. It was the exact same scenario. I'd get into it, it would fall flat on its face. And again, I just attributed that to a tune issue, even though that in the back of my mind, I probably should have known otherwise. But it has had this issue since I put the first motor in, the first one. I think that's important to realize here before a bunch of you comment that it's an issue with the motor itself. It's clearly not. This is runs fine from idle all the way to 6,500 RPM. It's basically just when you stab the throttle or, quick increase in acceleration, the car falls on its face. If you do like half throttle all the way to redline, even getting into boost a little bit, it's fine. Mike demonstrated that on the dyno. It's just like a heavy load, a quick stab of the throttle, the car does not like and falls on its face. This is a log I just took this afternoon, similar to the other one, but we can see the same thing happens. You start increasing throttle position, fuel pressure drops from 37 down to 32, car falls on its face. What's interesting here is that I've logged fuel pump commanded duty cycle, which goes up to 50%, which is the maximum. For some reason, I think you multiply it by 2 to get 100. But basically 50% commanded duty cycle is your maximum, and the actual fuel pump duty cycle reads 0 the whole time. So I don't know if there's a problem with that PID or whatever, but also worth noting here, fuel pump control module voltage stays right around 13.5 to 14 volts the whole time. So I think that should be good. But yeah, we got something going on with fuel pressure. It drops, from 39, 38, you start getting into it, it gets down to 37, then drops from 37 to 32, and that's when the car falls on its face. I think that's when it's happening. Fuel pump duty cycle is at 50%, aka maxed out. Then you let out of the throttle, spikes up to 70 PSI, and then kind of does an oscillation effect as it smooths out, eventually back to 40 PSI where it's supposed to be. This is all over the course of like less than a second right here. But something funky's going on with fuel pressure. So what's left? Is it the fuel pumps? Is there a problem A with the fuel pumps, or B maybe with one of the lines going from the fuel pumps to the hat? Is it the fuel pressure driver module itself? Or is it something completely different? I think my next step is going to be to drop the fuel tank and take a look at it. Maybe a line popped off. Maybe there's, a fuel pump that's obviously bad. There's 2 pumps in the stock Cobra hat. Maybe one of them is having a problem. Fuel pump driver module is cheap. Could put one of those in. I don't know. I'm going to lean on you guys a little bit. Let me know in the comments. You guys are familiar with these cars. If you've had this exact issue where you can go all the way to redline with no problems, but as soon as you stab the throttle, the car falls on its face. So yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts. I think my next step is going to be pulling that tank. Not going to cost anything. We'll just take a look. This is not the note that I wanted to end this video on. I was hoping to go to the dyno, make good power, the car would be healthy, we could be out beating on it and having a good time, but that's the nature of the beast. But I'm still calling this a win. We're gonna keep a positive attitude here. The motor is healthy, it sounds awesome, it runs awesome, doesn't overheat, great oil pressure, makes all the right noises, and the car is running good other than this weird, hesitation / stumble when you stab the throttle. So I'm sure it's something that we could easily fix, and we will definitely get there. We're almost there mechanically on this thing. We're so close. I know it. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys as always for watching. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Stop fighting me. I'm trying to help you. Let's get you running right.